Hey, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in. Another edition of Passion and Precision with myself and Jory. You guys already know. So, obviously, before we get into everything, Jory, how are you doing tonight?
Okay, it's been a rough week, but I'm okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I know that, and hopefully, this is an opportunity to step outside of some of the stuff that's been going on, and we'll just do this for a little bit. Um, so yeah, like we're gonna talk about some NFL. We're going to do our first preview looking at the AFC North and the NFC North, which I'm sure that's going to be pretty interesting. Looking at some of the moves from those teams as well as maybe players that they lost, and kind of give you our outlook on their upcoming season. We're going to talk about the summer league because that's been going on. Been some performances that have stood out to you and myself, so we'll talk about that. And yeah, we're going to talk about a player in the NFL who got in trouble with the law, kind of a bonehead thing, which we know happens every offseason. So we'll definitely touch on that as well.
hmm
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll actually start with that one because like this story here is just wild to me. So Jordan Addison, California, was found asleep behind the wheel. So he was presumed to be under the influence. And it hasn't been a one-time thing because I believe in 2023 he was speeding like in a 50-mile-per-hour zone. He was going way above the speed limit and all that. So it's not his first time getting in trouble behind the wheel. Now with this one, obviously there's some significance in terms of Minnesota because it was what a week and a half, 2 weeks ago that one of Jordan Addison's teammates lost his life to a drunk driver. And now for him to turn around and have a alleged DUI, yeah, not the best look. But Jory, I'll let you jump in here and kind of give your thoughts on Jordan Addison.
Reported that he was spotted out drinking by himself after that. I need him to go get some help. Like, the timing is horrible. Like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, your teammate died at the hands of a drunk driver. He never got to see a snap of NFL football because he was a rookie.
Yep.
He had his dreams cut short because of a freak car accident because somebody was drunk and it wasn't him. The at fault driver was drunk. You also, Jordan Anderson is old enough, and it was just recently to remember what happened with Henry Ruggs,
Mm-hmm.
who was in prison for drunk driving, and then he killed somebody.
Yeah, I think it was either a person or two lost their life in that one. Yeah.
So it's like there is no excuse for driving under the influence. There's so much technology. There's Ubers, there's Lyfts. You have homeboys, you have teammates. Have them pick you up. Maybe have somebody else move your car or something like that. But at the same, there is no excuse for drunk driving and DUIs. Period. Especially with this type of timing. Like, come on now. And the fact that you were supposedly caught drinking by yourself after that, go get some help.
Yeah. Look, there always seems to be a story or two in the off season. We had a couple of off seasons where it was gambling and all that, but it always seems like we kind of due for a story of two with DUIs and everything like that, and especially for a younger player like Jordan Addison. Look, we all know how athletes that are younger they feel I don't know, invincible, or they obviously think like nothing bad's gonna happen to them. Like, look, he was found asleep behind the wheel. There's about a million different things that could have happened in those moments. Somebody could have rolled up on him, tried to rob him. Who knows? He could have gotten hit by another car. Like, that's very dangerous to find yourself just asleep behind the wheel. Or he could have, jerked up, jerked the wheel, hit somebody. Like, the fact that he was just found asleep behind the wheel in a story that's, terrible, that might have been the best case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So for Jordan Addison, with this, like I said, 2023, he had something behind the wheel, an infraction. Yeah, he might be a guy that probably should start using rideshare, because obviously you behind the wheel by yourself.
If you don't have a car, I'll take it.
Right. Yeah.
I would definitely take it.
Yeah. I mean, it was a nice car, but yeah, Jordan Addison just has to do better. He's got to be more responsible. Plain and simple. I'm sure if you're the Vikings, not the news you wanted as well. Like you said, had a rookie, never played it down, loses his life to a drunk driver. And then now one of your star players involved with a DUI. So, we will talk more about the Vikings later on as we do our, NFL preview of the NFC North, which is where the Vikings do reside. But I guess anything else you want to add about Jordan Addison?
You need to do better.
Yeah. Okay. Like, plain and simple. Like, don't go out. I think he was picked up. It was like 1:35 in the morning. I know they have these like rookie symposiums and all that where they tell these players that when you're out early in the morning, nothing good can come from it.
Nothing good comes from it. And that's not even just for athletes. That's for just general people.
Yeah.
This is life advice. Nothing good happens after 11:30 p.m.
That's a good point. Definitely a good point. All right. Let's move on to the NFC North. All right. So, obviously, NFC North, you have your Packers and Lions that were playoff teams last year.
Mm-hmm.
So they're coming into this year. A lot of optimism. You have the Bears, who feel like they have a shot in the arm with their new quarterback. Then you have a Vikings team that's in transition, somewhat like the Bears, but maybe in a worse off position. I don't know. We'll kind of see how it goes. But I guess when you look at this division, I don't know if you want to take it team by team or if you're going to just kind of preview it overall. Like, what are your thoughts on, like the off seasons of these teams and how you look at them going into next year?
The Bears should have did everything that they did for Caleb Williams for Justin Fields.
I feel the same way.
Like,
I don't understand it.
But all right.
It's the Bears. They're going to be the Bears.
They're going to be the Bears. It's not going to be a one season. Caleb's going to get hit around. I think they're still going to be third or fourth. Look like, because, well, here's some of the things that they did. They added Keenan Allen. They added Kevin Byard. They added DeAndre Swift. They traded away Justin Fields. They fired their OC, got a new one.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to fix that defense and the offensive line. So I'm like, they're still. I think they're going to be. Actually, I'm gonna be nice to the Bears. I'm gonna put them third. I think Minnesota might take a slide back.
Okay.
Just by looking at it, because if I'm looking at the Bears schedule, which I am,
mm-hmm.
Um, one weeks 1, 2, and 3, they all got AFC South teams. I'm not saying they're going to be easy. I'm excited to see Caleb Williams week 1 because you know who he play. He play my team. He plays the Titans at
Yes.
Chicago week 1. You already
Yeah.
heard Jeffrey Simmons on Rich Eisen show talking about his painted fingernail. I'm excited to see it. And then the beef of their schedule really happens after their bye. That's why I'm like they're going to be 3rd or 4th, and they have a week 7 bye. So I'm like, best case scenario, they win about 7, 8 games. Worst case scenario, they only win about 3.
Okay. I think that's fair. When you're looking at a team, new quarterback, new coordinator, it's going to take some time there.
And I don't like their coach, so there's that. Even though he coached his butt off at the end of last year, I
Yes.
will give credit where credit is due. He coached his butt off because he knew he was coaching for his job the second half of last year.
Yeah.
I still don't like him.
And I fully understand that. He struggled before that. It's kind of funny that he kind of got a bump because of last year, but Justin Fields, they were ready to run him out the door. And he played well down the stretch last year. But Caleb Williams was the shiny toy up there at the top of the draft. They felt like they couldn't pass up on that. So I get it. It's a tough decision. Anthony, what's going on? Vikings might start 2-5 or 1-6.
So let's talk about it. Because their schedule, week 1, they're at the Giants. Week 2, they're playing the 49ers. Week 3, they're playing the Texans. The last 2 I just said, those are automatic L's.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give them the Giants. So we're looking at 1 and 2 there. At Green Bay, 1 and 4, 1 and 3 versus the Jet. I don't know. I really don't know what the Jets are.
Right.
Because they got Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers is better than anything that the Vikings have on their field currently. I'll put in a little L for them. So that's what, 1 and 5? 1 and 4. Yeah, 1 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
They have a week 6 bye, and then they come out with Detroit, which I'm telling you that's going to be an L. So yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely have them going 1 and 6. Now, as far as the rest of their schedule goes, I don't think they win very many games this year.
I
Because
don't
look,
disagree with you. I don't
week
disagree at all.
7, you're going to the Rams. You're
Yep.
going to play a rookie quarterback or something like that. Matthew Stafford. That's week 8. I misspoke. Week 9, we got the Colts, and who cares about the Colts? I'll give you a win against that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, 2 and 7? Week
Yeah.
10 versus at the Jaguars. I'll give them that. I like whatever I got going on because they play us week 11 in
Mm-hmm.
Nashville. I like what I got going on in Tennessee more than what they got going on in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Division rivalries usually get split, but because they're going to Chicago, I'll give them that. In week 12,
Mm-hmm.
they'll win versus the Cardinals. They stink.
Yeah.
These are just my 2 early predictions. I have the Falcons an L, the Kirk Cousins revenge game L.
I was just to say that's gonna be interesting.
Now
Okay.
the home game versus the Bears, I think they'll win. And then they're not beating the Seahawks. They're not beating the Packers. And they're not beating Detroit. I literally
So
have them in games.
Anthony has a question. Would your opinion change if Sam Darnold is the starter?
No. If Sam Darnold was that guy, he'd still be a Jet
Or a Panther,
or
or
a
yeah,
Panther or a Ram or
yeah,
whatever or a 49 or whatever the heck he was. No, if
yeah,
he was really that guy, he'd still be a Jet because the Jets drafted him.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree with you on Minnesota because when I was looking at their schedule as well, that week 2 to week 8 stretch,
That's rough.
no matter if it's JJ McCarthy or Sam Darnold, like you're asking a lot of a team to face the Niners, the Texans, who are coming off of their great season last year, should have a better defense possibly. The Packers are an ascending team in that division. And if you look at it, they lost Daniil Hunter, who was probably their best defensive lineman. Yeah, they bring in Aaron Jones, who should help out the quarterback position, but all these teams in the division know Aaron Jones, so they'll probably just stack the box against him, force Darnold or McCarthy to try to beat them with their arm. I really don't know who will be better equipped to do that. I mean, I'm assuming Darnold probably starts the season while McCarthy gets accustomed. But yeah, I wouldn't have any faith in Darnold or McCarthy beating those teams early on. And then what that does is your other veterans in that group, once they start seeing the losing happen, you might get some disgruntled players. One, what about Justin Jefferson? Just signed the big deal. He had Kirk Cousins, and now he's taking a big step back with these two quarterbacks. It's going to be a trying season for him. We just talked about Addison with whatever, but they lost KJ Osborne as well, who was a big, like, third receiver in that group. So it might just be a frustrating year all around for Minnesota. Um, I know you talked about the Bears. I was just going to add about the Bears really quickly that I think what you said about Justin Fields is going to be a big part of the Caleb Williams era. Have Chicago learned anything in the way that they messed up with Justin Fields in terms of Caleb Williams? Because they make the same mistakes they did with Justin Fields, Caleb Williams will find himself probably wanting out in a couple of years. And if you're a Bears fan, it's bad enough that your quarterback play over the last, I don't know, few decades have been subpar. If this guy is going to be the it quarterback that we've been led to believe that he was when he was at USC, then Chicago's got to do better. I guess they started off on a better foot than they did with Fields by bringing in Keenan Allen and some of these other guys. But now we got to see it on the field in terms of play calling and all of that. Because if that's not there with them, then it's not going to really matter much once the season gets started. I don't know if Keenan Allen will be healthy all season in the cold.
That is actually a good point because he's used to being in LA. Chicago winners ain't no joke. Ain't no joke.
Sure. I mean, look, he'll probably be one of those wide receivers bundled up with the hoodie under the jersey, the hand warmers with the gloves on. He might look a little ridiculous. But I mean, Keenan Allen's a pro. For a lot of years in LA, he was seen as one of the more underappreciated wide receivers. So I'm just gonna look at that move as can only be a positive for Williams. But I do get what you're saying, Anthony, is that probably that first game where it's really cold at Soldier Field, yeah, he's gonna have to adjust to that really quickly. But I guess looking at the other two teams, like, what do you think about the Packers and Lions? Like, who do you think is the better team of the two? Because
The
both of them are going
Lions.
to come into this year with aspirations of making a Super Bowl.
I think the better equipped team. Hold on, let me get my crap together.
Yeah.
It's like I lose stuff when I'm not supposed to. Um, I think if I look at both, schedules. And honestly, they both have pretty decent schedules. Green Bay starting with Philly might be a tough thing. That's gonna be tough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Lions are the better team though. I have more faith in them winning the division again. Even though Green Bay, they added Josh Jacobs, they added a veteran safety in Xavier McKinney. The one move that I really don't like that they added was Andre Dillard. I'm like, why does he keep getting gigs? He can't block.
I don't know.
Found that
I mean,
out
look,
last year.
some of these offensive line coaches feel like they can fix anybody. They feel like their scheme. I mean, I'm assuming he's like a depth piece. If he's on that starting line come week one, then yeah, somebody needs to get fired in that front office.
Because I'm like, did y'all not see what he did last year? And just
Year
whipping on
before,
block?
yeah.
But the Packers, they start at Philly. And that's in Brazil. They got the Brazil game.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Philly in that one. They play the Colts week 2. I'll give the Packers that. Again, they're in Tennessee week 3. That could go either way. I'm trying to be very honest about my team right now. That can go
Mm-hmm.
either way. The Vikings, week 4, I think that's a dub. The Rams, week 5, they could lose that. Didn't they almost get beat by the Rams last in the playoffs? Well, my memory's messing up. Yeah, they did almost get beat by the
Yes.
Rams.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's the game with the controversial. Was it Puka Nakua call or something? The pass interference
Mhm.
that the Rams wanted. Yeah.
I have them losing that game, so I have them being 2-1 because I don't know what the Titans are.
Okay.
Then they have the Cardinals, which is a dub. The Texans, which I'll have them losing that game. I have them beating the Jaguars, losing to the Lions the first time. Actually, no, they can beat the Lions because they'll be at home. Lambeau Field is a whole different. That's a different animal.
Mm-hmm.
The Green Bay crowd in Lambeau Field will pretty much do whatever they can to single-handedly outchange the outcome of that game. So I'll give them that.
Mm-hmm.
They have a bye week 10. I have them going to Chicago and beating the Bears. They're a better team than the Bears. No matter how star-studded the Bears are, I want the Bears fans to be real with themselves about Kevin Byard. He's a very good safety. He's taking a step back. He will get beat. We saw it in Philly,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw it a little bit towards the end of his stint in Tennessee. He can get beat. Um, I have them losing versus the Niners. I have them losing versus the Dolphins, beating the Lions. Nope, not beating the Lions at Detroit, but they're winning the Seahawks. I don't like the Saints, so I'll give them that. And I'll give them the Vikings, and then I'll give them the season finale at the Bears. But with the Lions, I have them winning the division again. Because
Okay.
look, they locked up their man in Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm.
They added DJ Reader, which considering that defensive line needed some help,
Yeah.
great addition. They managed to retain Ben Johnson, and not not only did they lock down Goff, they locked down that what's his face? Sewell and St. Brown. So I'm like, yeah, and they had a solid draft. So I'm like, look, I give Detroit the division again this year. They have a favorable schedule until right at around week 10. It might start getting a little hard
Mm-hmm.
when they start playing. Well, I'll say week 8. When they play my team, the Packers, the Texans, the Jaguars, the Colts, Bills, 49ers, Dallas is not a threat. To all the Cowgirl fans, Dallas is not a threat. They have a favorable schedule. So I'm like, I have them winning this division easily. Because I have the Rams. As much as I've been heaping the praise on the Rams, they're not better than Detroit. They might be better than Green Bay. They're not better than
Mm-hmm.
Detroit.
I can agree with that. Definitely can agree with that. My thing with the Lions is I know they re-signed Goff. I'm a fan of Hendon Hooker, who's the backup there. So I've kind of played out this scenario where, because I'm assuming Hooker's probably going to see some time in the preseason this year. I know he missed all last year, recovering from the injuries he had at Tennessee. But when I think of Hendon Hooker, it's the guy who had Tennessee as one of the top teams in the nation. A lot of people were thinking about possible playoff team or whatever with them. Then he got hurt and their season kind of went down. So if he were to play well this preseason, Detroit's going to have a decision to make because he's going to have some, value, even though he hasn't played much in the NFL, but like he'll have some value to possibly a team that's looking at their quarterback position and going, yeah, we have our starter, but we don't really like him like that. If we bring, Hendon in and he plays 85% of what we saw on tape at Tennessee, maybe he can push the starter or something like that. I mean, it looks like with the Goff re-sign, like Detroit's committed to him. He's showed them that he can be a starting quarterback, even though when he was with the Rams were ready to move on from him because they felt like he had gotten as far as he could, and he kind of regressed a little bit there. He seems to fit in Detroit, so not mad about him getting his money. As Anthony said, Hooker might not start no time soon, and he'll be over 30. That is something working against Hendon Hooker, that he is a little bit older. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting between Green Bay and Detroit because Jordan Love's trying to get paid. So Jordan Love's going to be motivated this year to put up some big numbers with that squad that he had coming off of last year. So I do think those two teams are easily the class of this division. I think if I had to pick today, yeah, I'd probably go with Detroit. Although, is Dan Campbell going to continue the whole like excessive going for it on fourth down, or is he going to fall back from that a little bit? I don't have a problem with him being aggressive, but yeah, it cost him last year. I hope he's a little bit, I want to say smarter because I'm not going to say he's like a dumb coach, but
he makes dumb decisions.
Yes. So hopefully he can be, maybe he learned something from last year and will be a little bit more thoughtful than when he just goes for it on fourth down.
Just think about it. They were a dumb decision or two away from going to a Super Bowl.
Yes. Yeah.
And I've been there. Like my team has been there when they were a coaching mistake away, a lack of adjustment away from a Super Bowl, i.e. 2021. 9 damn sacks and we lose a game. Come on now.
Well, like I said, we will see if he's learned from it. I mean, who knows? He may double down and become more aggressive. I mean, who knows? Some of these coaches are set in their ways. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see as we are getting close to turning the calendar to August, and we'll actually start getting some preseason games in to see, some of the camp battles and whatever else comes from this division. But let's go ahead and switch over to the AFC North. Look, you and I talk about a couple of teams from this division for a few reasons. So I'm gonna let you go ahead. Your initial thoughts. I mean, you could start with whichever team you want to. What do you feel about the AFC North going into next season?
Let's go ahead and get these purple pigeons out the way.
I figured you wanted to start there. Yes, let's go there.
Y'all know I don't like the Ravens. I hate them. I don't like their fans. They're annoying. They're delusional. They don't see two sides of the equation. They only see the one that has the Ravens going to a Super Bowl, not anything else. But less on that and more on where I have them. Now,
Mm-hmm.
think about it. They've acquired Derrick Henry. They lost Patrick Queen and Geno Stone. You lose
Mm-hmm.
Mike McDonald and Denard Wilson. And then you cut OBJ, which are we surprised? He was just a glorified dancer who caught a ball every once in a while. Um, and they don't have an easy schedule. Period.
Mm-hmm.
The AFC North losing pieces and not really doing much as far as to kind of regain and just trust in the process is not going to do anything to help your case. Oh, we got Derrick Henry. Good. You got two running backs. Good. Congratulations. What the hell do y'all want? A damn cookie? A sugar cookie? That's all I've heard about Ravens fans. We got Derrick Henry. That's all that we needed. Lamar ain't got to run the ball so much. I'm like, okay. Are we gonna take it into account what anything that we've lost? Like your defensive coordinator's a head coach. One of your corners, your safeties, cornerbacks coaches is now a defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's my defensive coordinator now. Thank you, Baltimore. But can we stop being delusional like y'all did all of that to make yourselves automatically division favorites? Like week one, you played it, you're going to AFC Championship game rematch. You're going to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Look, the Chiefs know how to stop Derek. They know how to stack the box. And they'll dare you to throw it. Considering what the outcome of the game was last year, what makes you think I have any faith of y'all to beat them this year? None. Then I'll
I
give
will
them.
say one thing working in their favor. Kansas City's not going to care about that game necessarily.
They're
Uh, we
not.
saw them. We saw them lose to Detroit this past season on opening night, and they recovered pretty
They
well from
really
that.
don't care. Kansas
Yeah.
City plays a bad first half of the season, and they still mess around and get to a Super Bowl. They're
Yes.
not going to care.
Yeah.
And then you
Not
play
at
the
all.
low lie. You play the Raiders. The Raiders are not low lie, by the way. I like their head coach. Good for both of them. It don't mean they're going any damn where. Um, they'll be at Dallas. Then they have Buffalo. Then they have the Bengals, the Commanders, Buccaneers, Browns, Broncos. Now I hope the Broncos be the doormat of everybody's game because I hope they get instant karma for how they did Russell Wilson. But that's another division. That's another day, another dollar.
Yes.
And then you play the Bengals, Pittsburgh, a much improved Chargers team, by the way. They got better just by getting rid of Staley.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of hit it on the draft as well. You know, Harbaugh gets his gets his gets his due. The other Harbaugh, not
Mm-hmm.
the stubborn one that cost them games. If Bird and Ayuk somehow lands in Pittsburgh, they might be cooking with Crisco then. They could be cooking with Crisco, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Then you have the Eagles, the Giants, Steelers, Texans, Cleveland. Easily. And you know how they play division games in the AFC North, like there's a Super Bowl every time they have a division game. You saw what Cincinnati did last year after those injuries and how they started poorly in the division. Actually, that was Baltimore that started poorly in the division, losing games. If I'm not so mistaken. Or was that
No,
Cincinnati?
I think it was Cincinnati. I think Baltimore struggled.
At
Was
the
like the
end.
middle part. Yeah, like middle to towards the end. Yeah, yeah.
But they
I think
always
it was
struggle
Cincinnati
towards the
early.
end. That's
Hmm.
that is their MO. So I feel like they're gonna be top three and they're not gonna be the bottom. But considering what the rest of the division is, I don't think they're gonna be at the top. Quarterback wise, the Cincinnati, even though we question whether or not Joe Burrow can stay healthy, they're better. I'm not even talking about the clowns and what their quarterback situation got going on. But their defense is a lot better.
Hmm.
And then Pittsburgh is always gonna fight. They're always gonna manage to win 10 games. My thing is, if Baltimore does not win 10 games this year, looking at their schedule and the amount of cupcake games that they have, I'm talking about the Commanders, the Giants, um, the Broncos. If they don't win 10 games, they need to start looking at wholesale changes. Because, like, why do you sign Derrick Henry for 3 years, knowing that this is probably going to be a Super Bowl window, and then just waste it all on subpar coaching? I've always said Harbaugh needs to go. Let them do what they did last
Hmm.
year. Let them get to a championship game or fail to reach a championship game because of another case of I'm not going to adjust to anything. I'm going to make Lamar throw the ball 50 million times when that's not his forte. I'm not going to run the ball. Anyway,
Yeah,
we got
yeah.
those clowns out of the way. But best
Look,
case
well,
scenario,
one thing that might work in Harbaugh's favor, even if that does happen, you already know Baltimore will move on from Monken and make it seem like he wasn't the right guy. They seem like they are attached to Harbaugh. Harbaugh would probably have to
they'll
finish
be
last
attached
in
to being
division
mediocre.
before they even think about it.
They'll be attached to being mediocre when the light shine brightest.
I,
That's on them. I don't care
yeah,
what they do. I hope they lose. More from me. Um, best case scenario, 10-7, 12-5. If they win less than 9 games with this schedule, time to have some conversations. They
I
have a
can agree with
schedule
that.
easily set up to win 10 to 12 games.
Yeah.
Now, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they managed to re-sign Mike Tomlin. They acquired Russell Wilson and Fields. Then they get it was Patrick Queen that they got, right?
Yes.
They got him away from the Ravens.
Hmm.
Y'all wanted to sign Derrick Henry, but you let two key pieces of your defense just walk away in free agency like idiots. And that's going to come back to bite them in the butt because their corners can't stay healthy to save their lives. But don't mention that to a Ravens fan because they act like they don't know what the hell I'm talking about. They know exactly what I'm talking about. Marlon Humphrey, he's a great corner. Great corner. Injury prone. How many times are he going to be on the injury report? The rest of them, injury prone. Moving on from the purple people. But they ended up, they shipped away Deontay Johnson, who was literally a malcontent.
Yep.
Then they sent him to the Panthers.
I was trying to think about that. I
They
think
did
that sounds right.
his, they sent his butt to the Panthers because he wanted to be a malcontent. And that's exactly what he did. He's going to learn the hard way now. They signed Deshaun Elliott, which is great for their depth. I don't think he's gonna start, but they have
Mhm.
injury prone players in their backfield as well. And they also have a pretty favorable schedule, if we're going to be completely honest. Looking at it, they're going to win 10 games. 10 games for this division is probably going to be the floor, if we're going to be completely honest. That's why when I said Baltimore, if they win less than 9, they're in trouble, because 10 games is going to be
Mhm.
the floor, considering how these schedules are set up in the AFC North. Like, they have cupcakes 1 through 8. Those are winnable games that the Steelers have 1 through 8. They have the Falcons, the Broncos, the Chargers, the Colts, the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Jets, the Giants. If Russell Wilson is a fraction of what he used to be, um, and the Steelers defense is as dangerous as it is, they might only lose 1 or 2 games in that stretch, if we're being completely honest. Their schedule starts after week 9, which is their bye week. And even
Mhm.
then, they get a mini break with dealing with Washington before they get into division schedules. So I'm like, 10 games is going to be the floor for this division. I think the Steelers is going to be third or maybe last, but don't be surprised if they make their way to be second. And don't be surprised if Justin Fields is the starter by the end of the season.
Okay, 'cause I was going to ask you that. Like, by bringing in Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, I think a lot of NFL people were a little bit surprised that they went and got both of them. And there was some talk, what was it, like a month ago or something, like that Pittsburgh has entertained like a 2 quarterback system and all this kind of stuff. So it sounds like you feel like Russell Wilson will probably be the starter early,
Mm-hmm.
but then we'll probably see Fields maybe after the bye or something like that.
I wouldn't even put Justin Fields out there after the bye because that schedule is hell.
That's
I'd
right.
start
So
kind of
I guess a little before that.
incorporating him,
Yeah.
like late in games, getting him his own package. Then maybe give him one of the, because let me pull up their schedule again. Because after week 10, they
Mhm.
got Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals. That's a hell of a
Yeah.
schedule. That's
Yeah.
hard.
That wouldn't necessarily be fair to Fields to just
That's
throw him
not
out there
fair
to
to
that.
Justin
Yeah.
Fields.
Yeah.
I'd say just start incorporating him at the end of games. And then that last little stretch of games is definitely going to determine seeding in the division.
Hmm.
I have Pittsburgh being third. I have them winning 10 games this year. Because Mike Tomlin is the 10-game warrior. He's always going to win 10 games. Might not get much
He
in the
seems to
playoffs,
find a
but
way.
he wins 10 games.
Yeah.
And then,
Okay. So you have the Steelers third.
mm-hmm.
But you don't have Baltimore winning the division.
No,
So I'm assuming you have the Bengals winning the division.
I do.
Okay.
I do have the Bengals winning the division. Hold on, let me find the thing. Yeah. Even though they lost Brian Callahan, who's my new head coach,
Hmm.
and the Browns lost Bill Callahan, who helped their offensive line. He's now with a part of the Titans as well, which I think is cute. I think it's cool actually. Father and son, I think that's cool.
Hmm.
Um, they lost Awuzie, who is a Titan now, but they added Geno Stone. Did they? Or was it? Yeah, they added Geno Stone. Mike just sticky, that tight end that Joe Burrow and his tight ends usually get along pretty well. More for
Yeah.
Beth, but they have a good quality tight end that is probably going to need a payday soon anyway. And they added Sheldon Rankins when we know Cincinnati's defensive line has needed some help. Even though they lost DJ Reader, they kind of back they kind of made up for it signing rankings, even though he's a veteran. And
Mm-hmm.
they have a favorable schedule. They don't have the killer schedule at the end of the season like the Steelers do. Like, even though their bye week isn't until week 12, they get they have a mix. They have a more balanced schedule. It's not just like top loaded because like they have the Patriots, the Chiefs, the Commanders, the Panthers, Ravens, Giants, Browns, Eagles, Raiders, Ravens, Chargers before the bye. So it's kind of like a mix of good teams and mediocre teams. And then they get the Steelers, Dallas, Titans, Browns, Denver, Steelers. So I'm like, they get a more balanced schedule. That's why I'm giving them the division. They don't. They have the schedule that's going to set them up to win 12 games. This is not like they have a gauntlet to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike the Steelers, they have a gauntlet. The Bengals don't have
Right.
one. And then the clowns, the good old clowns,
Yeah.
and them folks, they signed Jameis Winston, which good luck with that, Stefanski. Good luck with
Yeah.
that. The man got LASIK and he still can't see. So good luck with that. They re-signed Zadarius Smith and they reinforced their running back room. That means they're pretty much returning everybody on defense. They got the backup quarterback situation shored up. The biggest
Mm-hmm.
question that they have would be that clown at quarterback. And you know exactly who I'm talking about. The weirdo.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And they also kind of have a more balanced schedule. They have Dallas week 1. I hope that game ended in a tie. Week 2, they're playing Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
They should beat them. Week 3, they should beat the Giants. They should beat the Raiders. But I don't know what Deshaun Watson looks like.
Yeah. Nobody does.
So they should be beating teams. But Deshaun Watson at this point in his career, the teams that he should beat, sometimes he struggles against.
Yep.
He'll give you like a good quarter or two of really good football, and then he starts turning the goddamn ball over like it's nothing and looking like he's scared out there. And if that doesn't, like, the one thing about it, like with this season, if he don't play necessarily too well, we can go ahead and say that Houston Deshaun Watson is gone.
Yeah. As much as I want to disagree with that, I can't. I said last year I thought we'd see some of Houston's Deshaun Watson where we didn't, and like you said, him looking scared. We don't see the scrambling that we saw when he was in Houston. Doesn't really do that anymore. And
And
I
he's
feel like
almost
that's a part of
never
his game that was a big part of what made him good in Houston. But he doesn't do it. So, yeah, I don't know.
and he's almost never available. He's been hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That those 11 that year and a half of football of that break that he took, I knew that was not going to end well.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole season he took, pretty much 2 whole seasons he took off.
Yep.
They sure are going to run Nick Chubb into the ground, or at least into another injury.
I mean, look, he posted he's already benching 800 and something pounds already, and that's after the knee injury last season. Like that dude, I'm never gonna be surprised by what Nick Chubb can do on the football field. But yeah, if Deshaun Watson isn't any good,
It's not going to
that's
matter.
just gonna put right. He's gonna just put teams are just gonna stack the box. He's gonna have limited running lanes. So Deshaun Watson, like this season, he needs to be effective because Cleveland has talent on that team. It's just that at the biggest position, they have the biggest question mark because we just don't know what's going on with Deshaun Watson. We just don't know. We don't know that the commitment's still there. Like whatever it is, he just has not looked right. And now it's, what is this, like year 3
Mm-hmm.
outside of Houston? Like at some point, you either have it
Or you don't.
or right, and this is going to be that year for him.
And if you don't have it, we'll finally get to say that that was the worst trade in NFL history. Right now,
Yeah,
Russell Wilson got the got the cake.
yeah,
But this one gonna be a close second, if not surpass it. Because at least Russ played
right.
and he
Yes.
had good moments. He was just stuck with a coach that really didn't like his ass
Yep.
and did everything he could to ruin him. That's neither here nor there. But Denver's karma's coming to him. Deshaun has no excuse. You have a coach who's been a coach of the year. You have a good offensive line. You have a top 5 defense. Why can't you stay on the field? And when you do get on the field, why can't you play well?
Yeah.
I feel no sympathy. I think that to wrap up my soliloquy, I think the Bengals will win a division. I think I don't know. I really don't know after the Bengals. Look, because it's a hard division to predict.
You're right. Yeah. No, that's very true. Every year, the AFC North is really compact. You know, your last place team will be 9-10 wins. Your team that wins the division will be like 11-12. They play really tough interdivisional games. So yeah, if you look at the Bengals as winning the division, the next 3 teams you could literally pull them out of a hat and just roll with that.
They only win a division if Joe Burrow stay healthy, though.
Yes.
If not, it's anybody's game. Just roll the dice and pick a team, and they can win a division. I wouldn't be surprised if Pittsburgh pulled a miracle out of their hat. You know
Tomlin
who I
seems like
don't
he's
want
kind
to
of
win
due
that
to
division?
yeah.
That they're already insufferable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to be last, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. Well, yeah, I mean, look, Tomlin is due to kind of have a random season where the Steelers win the division.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm kind of like you. When I look at this division, I see 4 teams that you could throw out a really big question mark on their season. Steelers, we talked about. Between Wilson and Fields, if they don't get stellar quarterback play, that's going to sink their season. With the Bengals, it's not even just Joe Burrow and the wrist injury, but you lost Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins is counting his days when he can get out of Cincinnati
Oh yeah, I
because
sure did get Tyler Boyd. All
you
they
did.
they just didn't
I
make
was waiting
that
for you to bring that one up. I was surprised you forgot about Tyler Boyd. Yeah, you got him.
through the cracks. All they
Yeah.
did see in Nashville somehow. I'm not complaining.
Mm-hmm.
Not complaining.
Yeah. But like you lose Tyler Boyd. Now T. Higgins is like reluctantly gonna play on the franchise tag, but he's gonna test free agency next offseason. So for Cincinnati, as we kind of know it, well, yeah, Joe Mixon's gone too.
Mhm.
So this might be the year where if Burrow can be healthy, you got Chase, you have a reluctant Higgins. Maybe if they have a good season, they could convince him to stay. Like this is probably going to be their chance to maybe get back to a Super Bowl. Cleveland, like you said, if Watson isn't right, you do not want to you don't want to hinge your season on Jameis Winston to come in and do what Joe Flacco did last year.
But they
They
got mad
they
about Joe
peeled Joe
Flacco throwing the
Flacco off
pitch
his
last
yeah,
year.
yeah, they peeled him off his couch and he came in and played well.
Y'all think
I don't know if you can expect Winston to do that.
No, because they were mad about him throwing picks at the end of last year because he was doing all of that and throwing picks. Jameis gonna throw a dumbass pick just for the hell of it. And
Yeah,
it's not an accident. He just didn't see something and threw it.
yeah,
Oh, blind
yeah.
bat. But he's funny.
Right. He seems like a good locker room guy. People seem to like him. It's just the performance on the field.
Don't
He'll
matter.
look good on one throw, and then in like the next three or four, you'll be like,
What the hell
"Come
is
on,
that?
Jameis." Yeah. Yeah. And then for Baltimore, biggest question is going to be how big of a loss will Mike McDonald be when he was running your defense and your defense played really well last year? Yeah, you're moving your secondary coach to your defensive coordinator now, but it's a different voice. We don't know. Is he going to try to throw some wrinkles in the game plan that may backfire? We don't know. Also, with the way that their season ended last year with that Chiefs loss, I think the question has to be asked: like, is Lamar, is John Har, are well, I guess are Lamar or John Harbaugh, are those two guys good enough to just get to a Super Bowl? Because last year they had the bye, so they didn't have to really worry about losing in the opening round of the playoffs. And then they got a Houston team that surprised a lot of people and got there, and their inexperience showed in that game, which helped Baltimore. For good stretches of that game early on, Houston looked like the better team. And then they got to Kansas City, and everybody was downplaying Kansas City's talent. They showed that they were the better team that day, even though the Ravens on paper may have looked like the better roster. But Kansas City showed them, like, we know what to do when we get here. You guys are the ones that, when y'all get to the playoffs, usually shrink in the moment.
It
So
starts all undisciplined and
yes,
flags and ooh wee. So no, they're not good enough to win the Super Bowl. Lamar's been in the league how many years? 7, 6,
is
5,
it 7? I think it's, is it
7.
7?
Because I'm ain't nobody giving Dak Prescott an excuse. He's been in the league damn near 10 years, and we're asking if Dak Prescott could take the Dallas Cowboys to the Super Bowl. No, because he would have did it with some of the talent that he's already had if he was capable of doing it.
Yeah,
I feel like Lamar's in that same boat. They've had first round picks at wide receivers and just shipped the receivers off without even trying to develop them, without even trying to make them a weapon, a valuable weapon for Lamar. And then you get a hatchy patch Odell Beckham Jr. who did nothing for you but dance and catch an occasional football. Bateman can't stay on the field. I get Zay Flowers.
yep.
Maybe.
They're relying on Nelson Aguilar to make plays.
And at this point, if you're going to rely on him, you might as well rely on me if you're going to rely on Aguilar. Rely on
Yeah.
me. I'll catch it. I might have to jump a few inches, but look, Aguilar is the boom or bust guy. And at this point in the career, he's more bust than boom.
Yeah.
So, look, the Ravens won't be going to the Super Bowl because even if the talent on paper dictates, oh, they have everything that it takes to make a playoff run, they're going to do something stupid that's going to cut all of that crap out. Or they make a mistake in building a roster. Harbaugh's going to hardball his way out, and not adjust to anything, and then get his butt kicked in the coaching thing, in the whole realm of coaching. So no, they can't go. No, and I don't want to see them go to a Super Bowl either.
I mean, look, the key's probably going to be
No,
this division is in a better situation. Well, presumably this year. Like, the Ravens can't bank on Burrow getting hurt again. They can't bank on, Watson underperforming again. They can't bank on the Steelers having a rough quarterback season because Kenny Pickett last year was horrendous. So if you are a Baltimore fan, you should be worried about the possibility that Wilson and Fields hit in Pittsburgh, and with their defense, they're better. Burrow has a full, healthy season, which means they're better. And for Cleveland, with that defense, with Nick Chubb coming back, if Watson plays, I don't know, 25% better, they will be better. So the Ravens won, what, 12, 13 games last year?
Mm-hmm.
You might have to take, well, I think they split in the division, I think, which they'll probably do this year, or they could be under 500 in the division, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if Cincinnati swept them this year, or Pittsburgh, or Cleveland. I wouldn't be surprised if any one of those teams swept Baltimore. So for them, they can't come into this season thinking like, oh, we made the AFC title game. We'll sleepwalk through the division, and come playoff time, we'll figure it out then. They can't do that. And I know that's not really the mentality of this division. All these teams respect what each of them can do and how tough they are. So I don't think that's going to happen, but we don't know. I think they'll keep both tight ends in the next 3 years.
No, they won't be.
Yeah.
Baltimore.
You talking about Baltimore? Yeah. Oh yeah. Andrews and Lively.
No, they won't be able to.
I kind of wonder in terms of Mark Andrews. He's been used a lot in Baltimore. I wonder how many more years he might have in his body.
Not many. And then they get too excited about Derrick Henry. I'm like, first of all, his best runs were in Tennessee.
Yes.
You're getting a 31-year-old running back. 30 to 31-year-old running back who's had a foot injury.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, yes, that's Derrick Henry. He has taken a step back as well. He's still explosive, but he's not that 99-yard burner anymore. Right. So good luck. I hope they lose the division, and the way this whole division is set up, 10 games is going to be the floor. So if they don't win 10 games, they're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to figure if you win 9 or 8, you're probably finishing last in this division.
And you're not like the way the whole AFC is set up. 10 games might be the floor. There's a lot more parity in the AFC. So if you don't win 10 games, especially with Baltimore, they don't win 10 games, they might be on the outside looking in.
And then, based off of your scenario, the rumblings may start happening with Harbaugh.
And I hope they do happen. I'll be sitting with my popcorn ready because I've been calling for it.
Yes, you have.
An overrated coach, to me.
What also doesn't help is Jim out in LA. If he turns the Chargers into a playoff team once again, then yeah, it's gonna kind of come onto John's steps and be like, so if your brother can just walk in from college and turn that team around, and you seemingly have just hit a wall with this Ravens run, yeah, maybe you're not as good as your brother, and maybe we can find something better. Anthony said everybody's trying to be like Adrian Peterson after an injury. Adrian Peterson was a beast, and there's probably 2 running backs going today that I would say are probably beast level like that. One would probably be Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And look, like I said, the Nick Chubb bench pressing like 800 pounds, dude is a machine. He's the other one. Yeah, I would agree. Those two, I wouldn't doubt them. All right. So, like I said, we'll see what happens in the AFC North. Look, you and I pay attention to the Ravens because of their fan base and how much we like to kind of get on them. Yeah. So we'll definitely keep an eye on this division, especially as the season gets underway. But we do have one more topic to get to before we get up out of here. and that's the NBA 2K25 Summer League. Uh, I mean, look, you and I have seen some games, and there's been some performances that have stood out to us that we wanted to kind of touch on here because the Summer League is winding down a little bit, especially with the Olympics coming up. They're going to try to get that done. So Anthony asked, hold on before we get into that, who do you think is the starter for the Raiders? I will say you have to wait on that because we did AFC and NFC North. When we do the AFC West, make sure you tune in and ask that question because we will address it then. I mean, I'll write it down. I'll keep it, in my notes here. Yeah, so I know that there's a guy in Houston that you wanted to touch on about the Summer League, so I'll let you go ahead and start.
I like Reed Shepard. I think he has more potential. Now, Sarr, on the other hand,
It has been rough for
what the
him.
hell he got going on right now? Look, Reed Shepard, he might not have been playing particularly too well for most of the summer league, but he's starting to develop. He's starting to come into his own. I feel like he can be very special in this league. He's somebody to look out for. Risa Shea, is that how you pronounce that?
That's how I've been saying it. I feel like that's how I heard it on the broadcast, so that's what I'm going with.
He is a complete player.
Mm-hmm.
He's a complete player. I think the Hawks finally got it right. Now, can they get the starting lineup right?
Yeah.
That's going to be the next question. Because I feel like if they have a lineup with Risa Shea, Capella, Trey,
Jalen Johnson.
yeah, and the other boy, you know who I'm talking about.
Why am I trying to blank?
I'm drawing a blank.
Would it be Bogdanovich in the backcourt?
I believe Bogdanovich could be a good quality starter for him in that kind of rotation. I think so. But Risa Shea he's a complete player. Now, one player, I also like Connect.
Mm-hmm.
I love me some Dawson Connect. He's a complete player as well. He has more experience than the second round draft pick. I'm gonna get into that in just a second. Because the whole discourse, actually, let me get into it now. Because I'm gonna go
ahead.
because the whole discourse about Bronny in the summer league, find something else to talk about. It's Bronny this, Bronny that. Bronny can't do this. Bronny can't do that. Give Bronny his goddamn name back. Good Lord. It's like every other hour. He only had 2 points. Get off this man's sack. Let him develop. NP. Like, it's bad enough y'all think he only got his job because of his daddy. That y'all say that. It's bad enough you think that. But I see that there's potential in Bronny. He could be a solid player. He needs to develop. Development takes time, and it's not going to happen in the span of 3 months. It might take him a season or two to really get it under his feet. Good thing you got 4 guaranteed years.
Yep.
Find something else to talk about. He's going to need time to develop and adjust, period. So you're going to get 2-point games. You're going to get 4-point games. You're going to get these games where he doesn't necessarily play well because he's adjusting to the flow of NBA basketball. He's not a player like Connect who stayed in school longer. He was one and done when he didn't necessarily need to be one and done. So can we let common sense not cloud our judgment and stop using this man's name for clicks? Because the stuff that y'all say about this man is off the wall, ridiculous. It's disrespectful. It's outside. Half of it is outside the realm of basketball. Just finding any type of way to just take a deuce on this man. Get off of his tip. Let him play basketball. Let him develop into the player that he's going to be. We cannot give him the same expectations that we gave his father. They're 2 different players. Don't do that to that kid. And find something else to talk about.
I mean, look, you put it perfectly. Look, I'll have to say this. I am a Celtics fan. So, whatever, how I look at the Lakers, if you want to factor that in, fine. But I've seen the Lakers Summer League team a couple of times. I agree with you. I feel like Connect is a guy that if you gave him 15 minutes a night next season, I think he's kind of earned it. I feel like if he's out there on the court, he's going to know where to go. He'll know where to fit in around, AD, LeBron, Reeves, those guys. He'll find a way to contribute. I think with Bronny, yeah, it was easy for a lot of people to get on him when he was scoring 2 points or 4 points or whatever. Past couple of games, he scored 12, he scored 13, and now it's like the LeBron fans who obviously have taken Bronny under their cover have gotten obnoxious because he's had a couple of games where he scored double digits. That still doesn't take away what he did before that, because that's kind of the give and take you're going to get with a kid who was picked 55th, who only played like 20 games in college and only scored 4 points a game in those games. So when you look at Bronny, yes, he's hit a couple of threes lately, but you can tell not necessarily the most confident in his perimeter game. Because I feel like his jump shot is a little bit slow right now.
It
And I
is.
think that's because he struggles so much from there that he's like slowing everything down to try to be perfect with it. So as he becomes more confident with it, I feel like his jump shot will get quicker and more efficient. If he's going to contribute at all next season, it's probably going to be in the sense of like a Drew Holiday, Pat Beverly type thing where, maybe he can have ball pressure on other guards, maybe movement off the ball, possibly, but you're not going to expect him next year to live up to this hype that a lot of people had for him when he was in high school and all that next year. Like,
Cavs
get
just
that out of
signed
your
Evan
head.
Mobley.
That's never happening.
The Cavs just signed Evan Mobley to a 5-year, $224 million max contract. I just got the
Oh,
notification.
seeing that we're breaking news on here. That's interesting because I thought Evan
That
Mobley played well in the playoffs, but I think questions are still there about him and Jared Allen, whether they can actually play well together. But yeah,
needs to go.
good for
They
Evan
need
Mobley.
to
And maybe this deal leads to that, and this shows the commitment to Evan Mobley. Because, like I said, when Jared Allen wasn't there in that series against the Celtics, Evan Mobley showed me a lot. He showed me an ability to knock down a perimeter shot from time to time, and it seemed like he had more free reign offensively to operate. So, shout out to Evan Mobley. But yeah, I guess back to Bronny. Like, yeah, this is one of the reasons why I was kind of rooting for some other team to step in and take Bronny, because if he wasn't in LA, would
this
all
was
this attention be
happening.
on him? Right, they would let him develop, and in a couple of years, maybe he bursts on the scene, and we'll be like, oh, okay, there he goes. The fact that he's in LA now, every night it's going to be, what did LeBron do? What did Bronny do? How many minutes did Bronny play? Like, this is only like if he's with the Lakers, it's going to be, how come he didn't play on this night? Oh, he would have been better than so and so. I think the coach is holding him back. And then if he's in the G League and he has a game or two when he plays really well, it's going to be, how come he's not on the Lakers squad? And it's just like, it's going to be a daily thing where people are going to be box score watching to see what he does. I don't
And
think that's the best thing for him right now.
look, any Lakers fan that wants to try to blame whatever the hell Bronny got going on JJ Redick, I'm going to go off. Because we're not going to do that. Not with a rookie head coach. We're not going to do that. With somebody as smart.
But it's going to come. The LeBron people will have to blame somebody.
He's not. JJ is not just a rookie head coach. He has a great basketball mind. So if Bronny does end up playing this upcoming season, I have faith. I have to have full faith as a Lakers fan that he'll only put him in situations where Bronny can grow from, i.e. mop up duty.
Yes. Unfortunately, mop up duty probably won't help him develop necessarily. But look, I know they said before the whole G League experience wasn't going to be part of his career. I feel like that was a ploy to get teams not to draft him. He's clearly going to spend time in the G League. He has to. Only way he'll get consistent minutes, which is what he needs right now.
That's why when I heard Rich Paul said that dumbass crap, I'm like, shut the hell up. Shut up.
Yeah,
Talking
yeah,
about he ain't gonna play in the G League, and if somebody else draft him, they going to Australia.
right. Which, as we see it now, that was clearly just to get teams to stop calling about him because you just wanted him to be in LA. Whatever, you're his agent, you wanted to put him in that position. Cool, you did your job. So now at this point, I don't really need to hear from Rich Paul anymore. I saw like the other day he was on Pat McAfee, and I was just like, why is he still a story? But whatever.
Him and
I do
Adele can
agree with
go.
you. Go ahead.
I'm like, him and his wife Adele can go roll in the deep somewhere. I don't want to hear from them. I don't want to hear from him.
Saw what you did there. Like the wordplay.
Thank you.
Give you credit for that one. Yeah, Reed Shepard. I've been impressed with him. I caught him a little bit and saw some highlights on him. I mean, you might have to start looking at what Houston is doing and what they've been doing the past couple of seasons,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe think that they could be in a situation kind of like Oklahoma City, where you just have a whole bunch of young talent there, and it's just a matter of time before it all comes together. Because now you're throwing Reed Shepard into a situation where you have like Whitmore from last year, you got like Tari Eason, you got Jabari Smith. You've bookended those guys with veterans and like Van Vliet, Dylan Brooks. You have Sengun, young guy. So what they're doing there is going to be interesting to see next year how good they can be, because we know the West is going to be tough. Although some teams we don't know, they could drop a little bit, but it's going to be interesting to see what Reed Shepard does and how they use him, because he's not going to be like your starting point guard. I think he'll play a little bit at the 2 as well. I know a lot of people have some issues with his height, because I think he's listed at 6'4", and I saw him on the court and I was like, that doesn't look like 6'4", but
More like 6'1",
maybe that's what he looks. He looks 6'1", which is the same thing that they did with Bronny. Remember, Bronny came out of USC listed at 6'4",
and he's a
goes to the
clear
combine and measured at 6'1". So I don't know what Reed Shepard's actual height is, but one thing Reed Shepard can do, he can shoot. He shot 58% from 3 at Kentucky, and you figure that's going to translate to the NBA, even though the line's a little bit further back, but he can shoot. Shooters know how to shoot, which
and he's
is
not
a
scared to
difference
shoot.
between Bronny. Mm-hmm.
He's not scared to shoot.
Right. Hey, I'll take a confident rookie any day, because that's like half the battle of your rookie season, being confident in your ability at the next level. And he does seem like a guy that is like that. But I mean, looking at kind of what we thought about the draft coming in, where everybody said it was a weak draft, and as much as Sarr is struggling right now, it's not hard to think that Reed Shepard might be the best player out of this draft next season. I mean, Reese Shea, I agree with you. I have been impressed with what I've seen from him. He has good touch from the perimeter. He understands what to do with the ball in his hands. So I agree with you that I think Atlanta may have finally have gotten a draft pick right, but now is how do they help him do the best that he can, and how does Trae Young play with him? Like I don't want to see games where Trae Young is just dribbling the air out of the ball, and poor Reese Shea is just standing in the corner hoping to get a pass. That's the last thing I want to see from Atlanta, and if I do see that, I'm going to open up the dialogue. They need to move Trae Young. I'm kind of over that with Atlanta, but they seem like they're going to give it another try this
The
season with
only
him.
reason why they
Whatever.
don't move him is because his damn contract is so large. I'm like, and that's whose fault is that? Who pays?
Exactly.
Y'all paid him to do nothing but run around, shoot dumbass shots, and shimmy.
Right.
And somebody who don't give a damn about defense.
Yes.
Like they really
People
shouldn't
in
have
Atlanta,
got
people in
rid of
Atlanta like it.
DeJounte. They should have got rid of Trey over DeJounte. That was the mistake.
Yes.
Because if you
Or
imagine
move both.
DeJounte along with Risa Shea and Capella and Jalen Johnson, you're looking at a team that can compete for a playoff spot, not a play-in spot.
Yeah.
But Trey, off rip, makes you a play-in caliber team.
Yes. Unless if a couple of teams ahead of them have really down years and they can slide up a little bit. But them on their own ability, yeah, this current roster is a playing team for sure. I can definitely agree with that. Um, yeah, so for a draft that's seen as weak, I feel like there are some guys who have kind of stood out from the pack, but still not star studded. And part of that is because there's so much attention on Bronny as a second round pick. There's just a lot of these guys we just don't know a lot about.
And Zach
I mean,
Edey,
Dillingham's had moments as well. So I don't know, I'm kind of intrigued by this class.
and Zach Edey is hurt already. I'm like, look.
And you always worry about that with big men. If they get hurt early on, some of them don't ever recover from that. I mean, I was just watching that South Sudan USA game, and Joel Embiid is still rocking that bulky thing on his leg, and the
They
mobility is just not there
start
with him.
Joel Embiid. Stop starting him. Damn it.
I agree. Like I'm watching Bam and AD, like when they're on the court, the energy is just much different. Then Joel Embiid comes out, and it's like it's a slower game. He's slower. He just stands in the corner most of the time. On rebounds, he's barely jumping. He's not posting up really. So I agree with you. If I'm Steve Kerr, opening night of the Olympics, AD is starting for me.
Exactly.
AD's blocking every shot. He's grabbing boards. He's moving well. Start AD. I
And
think it's as simple as that.
if AD can play like he got a point to prove this coming up season, look, watch for the Lakers. Can't say that. I'm
I
not.
mean, he played what 70 something games last year.
He was
He
playing
may
like
have turned the
point to
corner
prove.
on the injury. Yeah.
I just want him to continue that. Like we finally get a pretty much engaged Anthony Davis. He had his moments last year, but he played 70 something games and he was engaged in most of them. So
Mm-hmm.
he could carry that team if he has to. But I don't think he has to. Because even though Brown is 40 years old, he'll pull something out the magic hat of Father Time. Look, I don't know how that works. I'm tired of the LeBron James experience. I'm
I know.
over it.
Yeah.
And now that they got Bronny, I'm stuck with it again for 4 more years.
Mm-hmm. And I've told you before, there's the possibility 2 years down the line, they may throw Bryce into the equation.
Good Lord. Mm-mm.
Look, if Rich Paul did all this for Bronny to get to LA,
And
and
Bryce is better.
Bryce is seen as the better player, yes, trust me, Rich Paul's going to try to do it again. I mean, look, Bryce has height, which Bronny doesn't. That's like 50% of the reason why Bryce is a better
Mm-hmm.
prospect. So, I don't know. We'll see. We will see. But yeah, look, I mean, even once again, as a Celtics fan, I do appreciate Anthony Davis because I see the talent that he has. You know, the one thing you always could have on him was the injuries, but last year he played really well. And I've said, and obviously for the LeBron people, they don't like hearing it. I made the argument Anthony Davis was the important player for that bubble title. Because
And
every
that's what
time Lane
LeBron
ask
was
what?
like that.
I know, but everybody looks at oh, Braun won the MVP, blah blah. But it's like every time they needed a bucket late in games, they always went to Anthony Davis on the block, and he delivered. So I would have given Anthony Davis that MVP, but we already know when LeBron's in the equation, you just give it to him. Whatever.
At
I mean,
at what point does Anthony Davis get tired of that crap?
I guess that kind of speak to like what his personality is. He kind
Yeah,
of seems like a guy that
he
probably just
really
likes it
don't
in LA so much that he's okay with being second fiddle to a guy like LeBron.
care. He
I don't
really
think
don't
he
care.
cares.
He
Yeah.
don't care. They
And
have
I
an
respect
off-field
that.
relationship. You could tell. He don't
Hmm.
care.
Yeah, I respect it. I mean,
Now
this guy at
before
80 with like, oh, go ahead, go ahead. Sorry.
I was like, before we got out of here, I did want to
Mhm.
mention how much of a waste of time Kawhi was on Team USA.
Yes, go ahead.
Because I'm like, hold on, let me pull that out.
Yeah, while you're pulling that out, I'll just let everybody know Kawhi was selected for the team. I guess seemed like he wanted to give it a go. Team USA looked at his knee, didn't like something that they saw. They didn't like the way he was moving around in practice. I mean, look, a lot of people were like, why did he go in the first place? Team USA did him wrong. His coach is on the coaching staff for Team USA. So obviously Ty Lue had to be okay with them removing Kawhi Leonard. And then, after that, all the stuff about whether it should have been Jaylen Brown, they select Derek White. So, yes, yeah, you can, I guess, go ahead from there.
A few things can be true. I think that the Clippers made sure that he didn't continue on his Olympic journey because look at it. And they're acting innocent like they didn't have a goddamn way clue.
Mm-hmm.
When Ty Lue's the coaching staff and the fact that he didn't even play at all did he even play in the playoffs this year? I don't think so. So
I think he played like a game
a
or
game
two.
or two,
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
think he
that's
played.
not good
I think he
enough.
played a little. Yeah, right.
That's not
Yeah.
good enough. You can't sit here and play two games in a 6 and 7 game series that they got one and done by the Mavericks. And if you can't then you can't contribute to a postseason run, you damn sure can't contribute to the Olympics. That's why I really don't understand why Joel Embiid is there.
I agree.
Who is
He
clearly
he,
still
he
hurt.
doesn't fit. He doesn't fit like with any lineup on this team. He doesn't fit in the starting lineup because they play, a certain way, and then that bench unit that kind of got USA back into the game, where you had AD, Bam, Tatum, White, and who was the other one? I can't remember who the fifth player was, but Embiid doesn't fit that lineup either because that's like their energy defense lineup. So I don't know what you do with Embiid.
And he's still hobbled. Why do we have
Yeah,
any players that are hobbled playing in the Olympics? Why is he even considering those
I,
two? Like
I
it was
guess
just
he
a
just
waste
wants to
of
win a
time.
gold. I think he just wants to win a gold medal.
A waste of time. You know Kawhi got bad knees. We don't have to discuss
He was
that.
he was drafted with bad knees. Yeah,
He was
we all know.
drafted with bad knees.
Yeah.
And then the thing is, the Clippers, they had to blow it all up. Let's just call it as we see it. They had to blow it all up because they let Paul George walk for nothing, because they continue to invest in Kawhi, which is bringing them even more nothing. They're going nowhere quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Look, it's like, why go through the charade of giving this man a jersey, of doing all of this foolishness?
The photo
And
ops, all that.
it wasn't even clear that he was going to play. And just to remove him anyway. It was just a big old waste of time. I'm like, the Clippers are going to stink, and I'm going to laugh.
Well, I mean, I guess the last thing before we do get out of here, like the other element on the Clippers end is they're finally getting their own arena. Steve
Good.
Ballmer can't go into next year with a compromised Kawhi Leonard, and now you're depending on James Harden to carry you somewhere. Because we've seen that enough. That's going to lead you nowhere. James Harden at this point in his career is not trying to be nobody's number one option, especially if you think you're going to win a title. He's not in for that. So they need Kawhi to be healthy, play 65, 70 games. He has to do that for them because of the way that their team is made up now. He's just that important. So it made a lot of sense. I mean, I've thought the same thing about KD because KD hasn't played yet and he has a calf injury, but apparently KD's supposed to play in their next exhibition game. I guess we'll see how that looks. But yeah, there's like a few guys who are on the team that I didn't necessarily understand it because I agree with you. The way Embiid played in the playoffs in that Knicks series, if I'm a Sixers fan, I'd be like, why are you now turning around and playing in the Olympics? Especially still having that big brace that's on his leg that we can see underneath the little like compression thing that he wears. And he's basically just dragging that leg around. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Olympics start next week?
Damn.
So I'm sure. I think it's next week. It starts like the 20th.
Starts next week.
What would you say?
Football training camp starts next week too.
Yeah, because preseason is right around the corner. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Even though Patriots aren't. Well, save that for when we do AFC East. But yeah, I feel like that's a kind of a good place to end this one. I mean, Jory, if there's anything you want to add before we get out of here, I'll give you a moment here.
Jory Sports Stories will return shortly. Life has been hell. I'll tell y'all that. It's been hell, especially this week. And I'm barely keeping myself together right now. I'll be back shortly.
Yes. I mean, look, for anybody who's like in the podcast space or trying to get into it, there are going to be moments where life gets in the way and you may have to step away for a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. Whenever everything clears up, you go back to it. Like, it'll be fine. So, I'm excited when Jory Sports Stories does come back. You know, I'll be tuning in. So yeah, but hopefully, like I said, this maybe took you away from some of that for like an hour and a half. So hopefully, you found some happiness doing this, and yeah, that's all I can say. So yeah, make sure you tune in. We normally are on Fridays, but you know, if we're not on Friday, we usually try to do it like Saturday or so. So just make sure you like this video and then subscribe or follow to Integrity Sports Network. Hit the notification bell over on YouTube. That way, when we do go live, you'll see the notification. You'll tune in because you already know. When I'm on here with Jory, we definitely have a lot of fun. You get a couple of rants, and we just keep it honest with you all. We're not trying to get you with the wild takes or anything like that. So until next week, this is Passion and Precision for myself and Jory. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and your night. And we will see you all next week. We're out of here. Bye.